Paratmanamekam jagadbijamadyam niriham nirakaram onkar vidyam yato jayate palyate yena vishvam tamisham bhaje liyate yatra vishvam. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dear devotees, we were studying the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is known as Vibhuti Yoga. To revise what we had studied in the last two classes, Sri Krishna starts this chapter by saying that, "Hey Arjuna, I am going to once again present to you the true nature of the Supreme Reality. Once again, I am going to present to you the true nature of Ishvara or Brahman." Why? This is a very difficult subject. Secondly, I wish your true well-being. Thirdly, because you delight, you take relish in listening to my nectarian words. Three things. So these are all applicable to you and me also. We have to take delight, or we have to relish the words of Sri Krishna or the words of the Shastras. Then only it works on us. Unless we delight in it, we take delight in so many things of the world. But if we really sincerely ask this question to our own self, how many people are there in this world who relish or who take delight or who rejoice in listening to the words of the Shastras? It is only in the minds of these people that the words of the scriptures will really bear fruit. Otherwise, it doesn't bear fruit. So Krishna is saying, my dear Arjuna, I am going to once again reiterate the true nature of the Supreme Reality, the true nature of Ishvara, because I want to see your true well-being. Means he wants to see our true well-being. And because we are taking delight or we relish in the words of Sri Krishna. And thirdly, because the subject is very difficult. And he says, you see, the subject is very difficult. Even the great rishis and even the gods and goddesses, they fail to comprehend the true nature of Ishvara. Why? Because these so-called gods and goddesses and rishis, they have emerged from me. They came after me. So those who came after me, how can they know my true nature? So the subject is very difficult to understand. It's not easy to grasp. That's why I am going to once again reiterate this subject to you. And then he says, yes, even the gods and rishis, they fail to comprehend my true nature. How difficult. You see, we are repeatedly told about this. For how many months and years we have been listening to such talks, scriptural talks. We have been listening to these deliberations on the Upanishads, but still we are not capturing it. This point Shankaracharya raises in other places also in the Upanishads. Why is this happening? This is happening owing to a very severe, what should I say, a defect in our mindset itself. What is that defect? The defect is our clinging to that which is not real. This clinging to that which is not real is the main reason why, in spite of, we may listen to this repeatedly, days after days, months after months, years after years, this will go on. But we won't succeed in comprehending it and actualizing it in our lives because of that strong clinging to that which is not actually real. It is that clinging which obstructs the true attainment of that supreme reality, though we may listen to it repeatedly. That's why Sri Krishna says in the 3rd verse of the 10th chapter, anyone who succeeds in understanding me, tattvataha. The tattvataha word is very important in the Gita. It comes repeatedly. Anyone who succeeds in understanding me as I really am, not as you imagine, not as I imagine, not according to our imagination. This is world, that is God, I am a jiva, this is separate, that is separate. In between that, you imagine something as God, not in this way. But Ishvara as Ishvara is. So, how is Ishvara in its true nature? Sri Krishna uses 3 beautiful terms there. He says, Ajam, Anadim, and Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. In the 3rd verse of the 10th chapter of the Gita, Sri Krishna is, in few words, he is describing the supreme reality in 3 words. What is the supreme reality? It is Ajam, unborn. Unborn means uncaused. Technically, it's a very beautiful point. It is unborn means it is uncaused. It is the uncaused reality. Nothing has caused Ishvara. And Ishvara is also not causing anything. 2 things. It is beyond causality, beyond the framework of cause and effect. The supreme reality is beyond causality. Ishvara itself is uncaused, and neither is it causing something called world. There is no cause and effect relationship between Ishvara and the so-called world. Usually, we all conduct our lives with the belief that this world is the effect and Ishvara is the cause. It is good. It is a standpoint, not altogether wrong, at the same time, not altogether right. What we are referring to as Ishvara, Parameshvara, or Bhagavan is an uncaused reality. It itself has not been caused by anything, nor is it causing anything. So it is Ajam, therefore it is unborn, number 1. And it is Anadim. Anadim means it is beginningless. When you are talking about the beginning of something, you are talking about time. God or this Ishvara or Bhagavan which we are talking about, the supreme reality, it is beyond the framework of time. Therefore, it is beginningless. 3rd point, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. It is the Lord of everything. It is the one thing which is appearing in the form of everything that is moving and disappearing here. Whatever is appearing here, which is all moving and appearing and disappearing. What is the characteristic of this world which we are experiencing through our sense organs? What is the characteristic of this so-called world which we are experiencing through our sense organs? What is the characteristic? It is all appearing and disappearing. Only thing that is real inside this is Ishvara and Ishvara alone, which is the Lord of everything. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. So Sri Krishna in the third verse, he said that anyone who understands me in this way, as unborn, as beginningless, and as the Lord of everything, that wise person will become freed from all sins and bondage. He will attain freedom here itself, this very moment. That person will attain Khandana Bhava Bandhan, to put it in Sri Ramakrishna's language. Now, this is the nature of the Supreme Reality. This Supreme Reality called Ishvara or Bhagavan is the very basis of everything here. It is the very basis. Basis means substratum. It is the very adhisthana. The Sanskrit term for substratum is adhisthana. This Ishvara is the very adhisthana of everything that we are experiencing here. Just like the ocean is the very adhisthana, the very substratum of all the waves and bubbles that appear on the surface of the ocean. The bubbles and waves, they appear and disappear, appear and disappear, appear and disappear, appear and disappear. Where is it appearing and where is it disappearing? It is all appearing and disappearing in and from the ocean. Ocean is the very basis of everything. Similarly, this Ishvara is that ocean of consciousness on which the bubbles of the so-called Jiva and Jagat is appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. This is happening every moment of existence itself. This is happening in every single moment of that thing called existence. There is something called undying existence on which all these things are appearing and disappearing. So, this Ishvara is the basis of everything. To make us understand that, in the next two verses, very important, Sri Krishna presented the idea how Ishvara is the basis of everything. First in the individual context and then in the cosmic context. In the individual context, this individual, this individual, this individual, this bubble, this bubble, this bubble, all small, small bubbles. What is the basis of these bubbles? It is the one ocean of Ishvara alone. We are all just like small bubbles and waves. And what is the basis, adhisthana of these bubbles? It is Ishvara. So whatever is going on here inside this individual, it is all emerging from that adhisthana of Ishvara, and it is all dissolving in Ishvara. Whatever is going on inside this, first let us take this one single bubble, this individual. Now whatever, all the faculties which we have, all the experiences which we have, good and bad, and all the dispositions, Shankaracharya speaks about three things. This bubble has got a certain kind of a disposition. This bubble has got a different kind of a disposition. Faculties, we all have more or less, not more or less, we all have the same faculties as human beings. We all have same faculties. And then our experiences which come from the actions which we have performed in the past. From where are all these things emerging? Dispositions, faculties, and experiences. Everything has got that Parameshwara as the very substratum or the adhisthana. So what are the things which are going on inside this? I'll just read it out fast. It's a good thing to revise. So we can introspect and see our thoughts, our feelings, the way we understand things, the way our buddhi is functioning, the way our mind is functioning, our certain predilections, dispositions, inclinations, our decisions, based upon several complex factors, everything has got one common basis, which is Ishvara and Ishvara alone. So what are the different things inside this? So beautiful. So Krishna is saying, intelligence, wisdom, non-delusion, forgiveness, truth, control of the external organs, control of the internal organs, happiness, sorrow, birth, death, and fear, as also fearlessness, non-injury, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, infamy. These different dispositions of beings spring from me and me alone. That means, in one sentence, whatever is going on inside us, it has got Ishvara as the very substratum. Just like that small bubble. That bubble has got the substratum of ocean. The bubble doesn't have any independent or a distinct existence apart from the ocean. Similarly, whatever is going on inside this, it all has got Ishvara as the very basis or the substratum. One thing to be noted here is, see, we should understand what we are actually looking for. Is it away from me? To talk about it being away from me is also very, very wrong. We are one with it. Is the bubble separated from the ocean? It is already one with the ocean, only the bubble is deluded to think that as if it is separated from the ocean. This is the problem. So this is hinting at something, a great, great truth. And that truth is that this Ishvara, is that Ishvara far away from us? That Ishvara is the very basis, this very moment actually speaking, this breath which we are breathing. Each one of us, we are all breathing. What is the basis of this breath? Is Ishvara. In every breath, we are all soaked. We are all totally soaked in Ishvara, this very moment. This is the hint which actually indirectly Sri Krishna is giving us by stating that whatever is happening inside this, it all has got Ishvara as its basis. If this is the case with the individual, what about this cosmos in its totality? Just as with the individual, this entire cosmos is also having Ishvara as its basis. Whatever is going on here in this cosmos, everything is emerging from Ishvara, existing in Ishvara, and going back into Ishvara. Just like waves emerging from the ocean, the waves exist in the ocean for some time, and again the waves merge into the ocean. So that is what Sri Krishna mentioned in the next verse. All this, the technical things like one day of Brahma. In this one day of Brahma, there are 14 manvantaras. Every manvantara, in every manvantara, there is one Manu, there is one Indra, there are several rishis, there are one avatar, and then there are gods and goddesses, and there are creatures, different creatures. Sri Krishna is saying, all these things are emerging from me only. This entire cosmos with all these different entities, from Manu down to the so-called creatures like you and me, everything is emerging from Ishvara and Ishvara alone. So in these two verses, Krishna is saying that if you just look into the individual, or if you look into the cosmos in its totality, both these things have got that supreme reality called Ishvara as its basis. Nothing is existing apart or distinct from Ishvara, number one. Inside every bubble is the ocean existing. Is it not? Inside every bubble, if you just probe into the bubble, what will be discovered? The ocean will be discovered. If you just break the bubble, What will come out? The ocean. Similarly, inside this every jiva who is existing, it is Ishvara is existing. We have not probed into it. That's why probing, spiritual life is essentially a probing. It's a seeking, it's an investigation into truth. It's an investigation into what is real. So when we probe into this jiva, we discover that supreme reality called Ishvara, that Ishvara which is residing in everybody. In the next verse, Sri Krishna said, Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tattvataha. Again tattvataha. How many times? Not your imaginary idea. This is world, that is jiva, and the third entity called God, in this form, in that form, not as you imagine, but as God is. How is God? God is like this form. It is the one reality which is existing inside everybody. Here, Vibhuti means what? Omnipresence of Ishvara. One who understands Ishvara's omnipresence means the Ishvara being present in every single individual. Inside every single individual, this very moment. This vision, omnipresence of Ishvara, and that Ishvara which is omnipresent is also omniscient, all-knowing. It is consciousness. So Vibhuti and Yoga. Any person who knows that it is the Ishvara which is residing in everything, that Ishvara which is pure consciousness, Sri Krishna says that this person will be blessed with something. A person who has got this kind of an understanding, that what we are talking about, that Ishvara, Parameshvara, is existing in everything, and that entity is omniscient. It is all-knowing, it is consciousness. Anybody who knows this, that person will be blessed with something. That person will be imbued with steadfastness in perfect knowledge. This person who has got this kind of a vision that Ishvara is residing in everybody, this person will become imbued with that steadfastness in supreme knowledge, perfect vision. Samyak darshanam. The word used is samyak darshanam. In Vedanta, always we should remember, it talks about two kinds of visions or perceptions. One is samyak darshanam, other is asamyak darshanam. One is seeing things correctly, other is seeing things wrongly. Presently we are seeing things not correctly. That is the root of all the problems which we have in life. And this correct vision, the correct perception, the samyak darshanam comes from Guru and the Shastras. There is no other source to it. It has to come from Guru and the Shastra. So Sri Krishna says, this person who has got this kind of an understanding, he will be blessed with an unwavering or a steadfastness in that perfect vision. What is that perfect vision? That is what is given in the next verse. That perfect vision is what? Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate. What is this perfect vision? Samyak darshana. Are we seeing things correctly? When we see things in this way, in which way? Ishvara is the origin of everything. Ocean is the origin of all the bubbles and the waves. And matta sarvam pravartate, all pravartanam, all the activities which we see on the ocean, the bubbles are flickering, bubbles are appearing, bubbles are moving here and there. All these movements which we see on the surface of the ocean, it is all owing to the ocean. Can these bubbles or waves move? Can they have any mobility without the presence of the ocean? Matta sarvam pravartate. All pravartanam, all chalanam, all activity which we are seeing here. See, it's a buzzing activity which is going on the surface. And all this so-called buzzing activity has got Ishvara as its basis. Matta sarvam pravartati. This is what is samyak darshanam. So this person who has got the correct understanding, he will be blessed with this kind of perfect vision of reality. And the beautiful thing, aham sarvasya prabhavo, matta sarvam pravartati. I am the origin of everything. And here, all the movements that is happening on the surface, it is only owing to me, Ishvara. In that case, what happens? Knowing this, the words are very beautiful. Iti matva bhajante mam. So beautiful. When you know this, when you are blessed with this vision, knowing, the consequence of knowing is what? Bhajanam, bhajante, bhakti. So beautiful. Knowing and devotion. Devotion and knowing, they go together. In fact, to say that they go together is also wrong. Knowing itself is devotion and devotion itself is knowing. There is no gap between these two things. What do you mean by knowing? Knowing means this: God alone is existing. That steadfastness, that unwavering steadfastness in this vision itself is bhakti. That unwavering steadfastness in this vision is jnana nishtha. Shankaracharya says, and this nishtha, this tremendous steadfastness itself is bhakti. Unfavoring. So, Sri Krishna says, iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. So beautiful. Bhajanam. Bhajanam means what? Devotion. Adoration. You worship this one reality, but how? Bhava samanvitaha. Bhava samanvitaha means with tremendous fervor, with tremendous attachment to that reality. So, Bhava Samanvita, Shankaracharya uses a beautiful term there in his commentary. Devotion with tremendous attraction or attachment to that supreme reality. That attraction or attachment to the supreme reality is what is devotion, bhakti. Usually we understand bhakti only in a very ritualistic sense, where we do certain things ritually. That is good, that is okay in the beginning, in the initial stages. But what is true bhakti? True bhakti is this kind of intense attraction or attachment for the supreme reality is what is bhakti. So Shankaracharya uses in his commentary a beautiful, very notable term there. He says it is Paramartha Tattva Abhinivesha. This term he uses in several places in his bhashyas. So beautiful. Abhinivesha means what? The tremendous attachment. Abhinivesha means what? The tremendous attachment. Attachment for what? Paramartha Tattvam. The supreme reality, Ishvara. This Abhinivesha for Paramartha Tattvam is what? Is bhajanam. Bhajanam bhava samanvitaha bhajanti. This person worships that supreme reality with intense fervor. Worshipping that supreme reality with intense fervor means what? Paramartha Tattva Abhinivesha. The tremendous attachment or attraction for the supreme reality. So beautiful. So you see, the language changes, but the phenomenon is same. When you know, you become devoted. And when you are devoted to that supreme reality, you will be knowing that supreme reality. They are one and the same thing put in two different terms. If you just read Narad Bhakti Sutra, there Narada Muni says, how does it define bhakti? Asmin parama prema rupa. Supreme love for Ishvara. Supreme love means what? Paramartha Tattva Abhinivesha. In the language of so-called Jnana Margis, what is referred to as Paramartha Tattva Abhinivesha Bhakti Acharyas will say supreme love for Ishvara. It is the same phenomenon put in two different languages, that's all. What is happening is that this bubble is now one-pointedly focused on ocean and ocean alone. That is the point. If you look into that illustration of ocean and the waves and bubbles, this one-pointed, unwavering steadfastness seen in the bubble towards the ocean, that is both Jnana-nishtha as well as bhakti. In this way, bhajante, this bubble is now fully focused on the ocean, bhava samanvita, with great fervor, with great abhinivesha, with great attachment and attraction for the ocean and ocean alone. This is the beauty, so beautiful. So everywhere, you will find bhakti and jnana. They are not two different things. They appear to be two different things only in the initial stages. As we mature in spiritual life, this differentiation begins to fade away. It's gone. It's one phenomenon looked at in two different ways. That's all. So, iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. In this one thing, which we should remember is that Sri Krishna is indicating something indirectly, which Shankaracharya is pointing out in his bhashya. Buddha bhava samanvita bhajante bhava samanvita. Now this bubble is worshipping the ocean with great fervor. Worshipping with great fervor, intense longing for the ocean. This is what is bhakti. That means who is eligible for this kind of a bhakti? What is the eligibility for attainment of this kind of a bhakti? Who is eligible? This is the question. Who is eligible? Shankaracharya says, a person who has completely given up all the desires for the things of the world. As long as you have desires for the things of the world, as long as the bubble is desiring other bubbles and running after other bubbles, this bhakti is not going to come. It's a point, beautiful point. Narad Bhakti Sutra also. What is the bhakti sadhanani? The first point he says, Vishayatyagat Sangatyagatcha. Bhakti sadhanam, the means to attain bhakti, Narad Bhakti Sutra. The first point he says is giving up all attachment for the things of the world. That is the first upaya of attaining this kind of bhakti. The bhakti which Sri Krishna is talking about here, so beautiful. Which comes from the samyak darshanam, which comes from the right vision that it is one Ishvara which is residing in all, that Ishvara which is omniscient. So beautiful. So who is eligible to attain this kind of a bhakti? It is this person who understands the unsubstantiality of this world. This world is without any substance. Nissaram. There is no sara. This world is nissara. The Sanskrit term is nissaram. Means there is no stuff. It is stuffless. It's all empty. So a person who understands the mithyatvam or the transient nature of this world and who has turned away from all the so-called other bubbles and who is focused on the ocean and ocean alone, this person is eligible to attain that kind of bhakti which Sri Krishna is talking about here. So beautiful. In this case, now, when a person has got this kind of a bhakti, steadfastness in that vision of the supreme reality, which itself is devotion. In order to strengthen this kind of a devotion, Sri Krishna says there are certain helping factors, certain beautiful practices. That is what is the next verse which we have to take. Sri Krishna says there are certain other factors which further strengthen our this kind of one-pointed steadfastness in the supreme reality. Which are those factors? He says, Machitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti charamanti cha. Now this kind of a bhakta in him, a person who has got this kind of a bhakti, In him, what do we find? Certain traits and certain characteristics. This bhakta's mind will be always fixed on the Ishvara. That bubble's mind will be always fixed on the ocean. Machchitta, Madgata Prana. His entire life force or life itself is focused on Ishvara. All his sense organs are also withdrawn from the different objects and it is also directed towards Ishvara. Madgata Prana. And then what? Bodhayanta Parasparam. Such bhaktas, they enlighten each other. Parasparam Bodhayanta. Whenever they meet, they will be talking to each other about this Ishvara alone. Bodhayanta Parasparam. They have nothing else to talk because there is nothing else existing apart from Ishvara. So what will you talk? This is a very important spiritual practice for all spiritual aspirants, that not to waste our energy in vain talks, because in truth, actually speaking, there is nothing existing apart from Ishvara. When we are vainly talking, we are doing that only because we don't understand this point that there is nothing existing apart from Ishvara. So, Bodhayanta Parasparam. And then what? Kathayantaschamam Nityam. They talk about Ishvara and Ishvara alone. And in this way, Tushyanti and Ramanti cha. They derive great satisfaction. Tushyanti means tushti, satisfaction. They derive great satisfaction and Ramanti. Ramanti means they rejoice. They delight in the thought of Ishvara. So this is the characteristic of this kind of a bhakta. And when they do this, when they keep their mind fixed on Ishvara, when their all prana, the life force is also directed towards Ishvara, when they always talk and think about Ishvara, and they derive great satisfaction and delight in Ishvara, what is happening is that they are further intensifying their attachment for Ishvara, or they are further intensifying their love for Ishvara. That Parama Prem is becoming even more and more intensified. That tremendous seeking or the chasing of the reality becomes even more and more intensified. This is what in Sri Ramakrishna's language, what he says is Vyakulata, 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 which is what Sri Krishna is and Shankaracharya is discussing here. Tremendous. Bhava Samanvita means Vyakulata. Bhajante Bhava Samanvita. Bhajanam, how? Bhava Samanvita means with intense longing and Vyakulata. Bhava Samanvita, if we have to understand it in the Sri Ramakrishna's language, it is Vyakulata. With great longing, this bubble is now looking towards the supreme ocean. So beautiful. And then what? Now what happens to this kind of a devotee? A devotee who is blessed with this kind of bhakti and as well as jnana nishtha. Let me use these two technical terms. This kind of a spiritual aspirant who is blessed with this jnana nishtha means the steadfastness in the right vision, which itself is bhajanam, bhakti. A person who is in this way blessed with this wonderful, what should I say, a wonderful internal state of his antakaranam. A person who is blessed with this kind of an internal state of his antakaranam, what happens? Sri Krishna says, next verse, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. Beautiful. Tesham, for these devotees who are of this kind, the way we have described till now, so beautiful. This is all the development. This is what actually happens in every spiritual aspirant's life. Sri Krishna is giving a graphic mapping of what happens in the life of someone who is doing all these things. This is what happens. This is what is going to happen in your life and in my life. It is a beautiful roadmap of the different milestones which we will come across when we move towards that supreme reality. These are the milestones which Sri Krishna is so beautifully and Shankaracharya is so beautifully mapping literally for us to understand what is going on inside us. So more and more our life tallies with this. We are truly making progress in spiritual life. So this is all meant for comparing and self-evaluation to find out where am I standing today and in which direction am I moving or am I supposed to move. To understand that is this beautiful mapping. So Sri Krishna says, in the case of this devotee who is of this kind, who has got that steadfastness in the right vision, which itself is bhakti, that jnana nishtha itself is which is bhakti, that tremendous fervor or paramartha tattva abhinivesha, the tremendous attachment or attraction for the supreme reality, which itself is supreme love. A person who is having this, Sri Krishna is saying, to such person, tesham satata yuktana. Now this person is always connected through this kind of a state of the mind. This so-called spiritual aspirant, he is yukta. Yukta means he is connected. Connected what? Morning for some time and sometime in the evening? No. He is satata yukta. He is always connected, never disconnected. The moment you have samyak darshanam, the disconnection is gone. Presently, see, this problem comes. Many people say, Swamiji, I cannot keep my mind on God. The reason is that we have not yet developed that samyak darshanam. Our mind is still gripped or it is overpowered by the wrong perception or the misreading of everything. That is why we feel ourselves disconnected. But for a person who has got samyak darshanam, a person who sees things correctly, and that sight is the blessing coming from the Shastras. I keep on telling this repeatedly. It cannot come from any other book. Let me tell you this clearly. It cannot come from any other works. It comes from the Shastra. When I say Shastra, Upanishad and Upanishad based books, or the great acharyas like Shankaracharya and Vivekananda and Ramakrishna. It has to come from there and there alone. So, Sri Krishna is saying, you see, this person is satata yukta. Yukta means connected. Not sometime in the morning and sometime in the evening. In an unbroken way, this person is connected. Anavarata bhagavat ekagra sampannanam. Anavarata means unbroken. Bhagavat ekagrata. Bhagavat ekagrata. That concentration on the supreme reality. How? Anavaratam. Anavaratam means unbroken. Nothing can break. Actually, there is no further striving for it actually. The moment we get samyak darshanam, then it becomes easy. When we develop this right vision of seeing the one reality in everything, then you become unbrokenly concentrated or focused upon that Ishvara. This has to come. To such people, Sri Krishna is saying, Tesham satata yuktana, these devotees who are in this way, always connected, their minds are always concentrated on the one vision of Ishvara existing in all the forms. And those who are bhajatam, in this way they are devoted, full of feeling of devotion, bhajatam. And how are they devoted? How are they worshipping God? Or how are they adoring the supreme reality? Bhajatam priti purvakam. They are worshipping God not for the sake of any selfish gain. That is another important characteristic of a bhakta. Bhajatam priti purvakam. This bhajanam, this bhakti, which is nothing but jnanam, this bhajanam, which is nothing but samyak darshanam, this bhajanam, which is nothing but jnana nishtha, in this kind of a bhajanam or bhakti, it happens for what? For any selfish worldly gains? God give me this, God give me that, God protect me, God do this, God do that. No. Bhajatam priti purvakam. This bhajanam, this devotion is only and only for the sake of loving the Supreme Reality. Priti purvakam. There is no other consideration there. Because why? There is nothing existing apart from that one Supreme Reality called Ishvara. That love for one and one alone, without asking anything in return, not even praying for one's own peace of mind. Somebody was asking me on that day, Swamiji, is it wrong to pray to God to have some peace of mind? This somebody was asking me a couple of days back, Swamiji, is it wrong to even to pray for my mind is so disturbed, should I not pray? Can pray. It's not a crime as such. But if you look into the standards of a true bhakta, that bhakta will not even pray for that. His whole vision is different. So this bhajanam is priti purvakam, only for the sake of loving that Supreme Reality. Loving that Supreme Reality means what? That intense longing to go and merge with it. That is what is love. Parama prema, or you may say abhinivesha. In Jnani's language, it is abhinivesham. The tremendous attachment for the Supreme Reality is what is tremendous love for the Supreme Reality. Jnanam bhakti. Bhakti jnanam. Not two things. It is one. It is one phenomenon, bubble, completely directed or focused upon ocean and ocean alone. So beautiful. Bhajatam priti purvakam. For this kind of a person, now Sri Krishna is saying, this person, this first line is the definition of this bhakta or a jnani. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. This first line is describing this person, you or me, of this kind, if at all. A person who has got this kind of unbroken connection with the Ishvara, he is focused upon. He has got this abhinivesha, satyanibhi abhinivesha or paramartha tattva abhinivesha. A person who has got this kind of a deep longing for the Supreme Reality alone, to that person, Sri Krishna is saying that I do something. Now this is what is anugraha. This is what, here comes grace. We all talk about God's grace, God's grace, God's grace. This is what is anugraha. Sri Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. I bless them with buddhi yoga. A person, that bubble which is now one-pointedly, unbrokenly focused on the ocean blesses that bubble with buddhi yoga. And what is this buddhi yoga? Enlightenment. The supreme knowledge, experiential knowledge. Dadami buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga means the supreme enlightenment through which all the darkness is destroyed. So beautiful. This giving of that enlightenment, it comes from the ocean. This is what is Ishvaranugraha or Daivanugraha, which Sri Shankaracharya so beautifully talks in Viveka Chudamani. Durlabham trayamai vaitat Daivanugraha hetukam manushyatvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samshraya. So beautiful. The supreme attainment happens from Ishvara's anugraha, this ocean's anugraha. It is inscrutable. Human buddhi cannot understand it, but it is a fact of experience. So here, Sri Krishna is saying, to this kind of a devotee, or to this kind of a bubble, which is one-pointedly looking towards the ocean, to that bubble, that ocean blesses that bubble with enlightenment, buddhi yoga. Yena mam upayanti. And through that enlightenment, that bubble discovers its oneness with ocean. Through this buddhi yogam, through this enlightenment, that bubble will discover its real nature, which is nothing but Nitya Shuddha, Nitya Buddha, Nitya Mukta, Sat, Chit, Anandam, Brahma, Atma, nothing else. See how Sri Krishna is beautifully, so thrilling. For every spiritual aspirant, it should be so thrilling, this graphic presentation, the mapping of what is happening in a spiritual aspirant's life. So beautiful. to tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Now the next question comes. Why is Ishvara blessing this devotee or the jnani? Now devotee and jnani there, but these words actually lose its meaning. The devotee is the jnani and the jnani is a devotee. Always remember this point. We make a big fuss about bhakti and jnana. Oh, bhakti is different, jnana is different. This is all maybe good in the initial stages, but when we grow in spiritual life, the difference totally fades away. Bhakti is jnana, jnana is bhakti. The 7th chapter also we have seen, where Sri Krishna spoke about the 4 kinds of bhaktas. Jnani is the true bhakta. So anyway, now Sri Krishna is blessing this so-called bhakta jnani or jnani bhakta with enlightenment. What is the purpose of blessing this person with this enlightenment? Buddhi yogam means enlightenment. Buddhi yogam means what? Enlightenment. What is the purpose of blessing this person with this enlightenment? The purpose is what? This enlightenment. What is this enlightenment? That is what is being told in the next verse so beautifully. Sri Krishna says, Tesham evanukam partham aham ajnanajam tamah nashayamyatma bhavastu jnanadipena bhasvata. To that bubble, which is now one-pointedly looking towards the ocean and ocean alone, it is no more interested in other bubbles. We have been spending our life running after the other bubbles, clinging to other bubbles, hoping that we will become happy by holding on to other bubbles. This is the usual tendency of the jiva in its life, which becomes the cause of punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. It goes on. This becomes the cause of all the kinds of miseries which we suffer in life. This clinging to that which is not true. That clinging to that which is not true is what is mithya abhinivesha in Shankaracharya's language. So beautiful. 2 terms he keeps on using in his bhashya. So fantastic. One is mithyabhinivesha and other is satyabhinivesha. Intense attachment to that which is mithya. The consequence is there for us to see. Opposed to this is the intense attachment to that which is true. Ishvara alone is true. So, Sri Krishna is saying here, Tesham evanukampartham, to such a so-called a jnani bhakta or bhakta jnani, to this kind of a jnana-nishtha bhakta, let me use a very technical and specific term. Sri Krishna is saying to this kind of a jnana-nishtha bhakta, a bhakta who is also jnana-nishtha. What am I doing? Anukampartham, out of compassion. Ishvara is saying that Ishvara out of compassion. What is, Shankaracharya beautifully says, what is Ishvara's only concern? Ishvara's only concern is that you come back to me. You come back to me. How long are you going to play with these toys? Come back to me. That is the meaning actually that Shankaracharya in his bhashya says. Anukampartham, that great compassion. You know, and Swami Vivekananda used to love his song very much, which he used to sing to Sri Ramakrishna. Mon chalo nija niketane, sansar videshe, videshir bheshe, kano brahman akarane, mon chalo nija niketane. This going back, bubble going back to the ocean. How long are we going to play with the toys in this world? That is anukampa. For the sake of calling back the bubble, the ocean is telling the bubble to come back, come back. That is Ishvara's anukampa, compassion. Because Ishvara knows the bubbles will suffer. As long as this bubble is lost in other bubbles, it will suffer. Ishvara doesn't want us to suffer. So Tesham, to such a person who is connected with the reality in this way, Ishvara, out of his infinite compassion, anukampartham, what does it do? Jnana deepena bhasvata nashayami. Ishvara lights the lamp of knowledge. Jnana Deepa. Jnana Deepa is what? Deepa is lamp. Jnana Deepa is the lamp of knowledge. This Ishvara enlightens that so-called Jiva by lighting up this lamp of knowledge in his heart. Ishvara is Atma Bhavastho. Atma Bhavastho means the Ishvara who is residing in our hearts. Atma Bhava means heart. Atma Bhavastha means who is residing in the heart. It is Ishvara who is residing in your heart, in my heart. This Ishvara who is residing in my heart, God is not outside anywhere, it is residing in our own hearts. That Ishvara lights up this so-called lamp of knowledge, in and through which the Ishvara is destroying the darkness of ignorance. Nashayami Atma Jnana Deepena Bhasvata Nashayami Ajnanajam Tamaha. I completely destroy that darkness which is born out of ignorance. Presently, if you just look into our state of the mind, it is filled with darkness. And this Ajnanam, Shankaracharya in his Bhashya says, what is Ajnanam? What is the form of Ajnanam? Ignorance. We keep on talking about this Ajnanam, ignorance or Maya. The form of Ajnana is only one. Aviveka. Absence of Viveka is Ajnana. Ajnana means Aviveka. Aviveka means not seeing things clearly or seeing things ulta, in a wrong way. Seeing things wrongly. Not seeing things clearly is aviveka. This aviveka is ignorance, nothing else. That's why, see, the most important thing in life is viveka. Clarity of the vision. The moment this viveka comes, that's why Shankaracharya's that book is so beautiful, so suggestive. Viveka Chudamani. This viveka, there is nothing greater than viveka. This correct vision of what the supreme reality is. The moment this clarity, this right, so-called discernment comes in our heart, everything changes. Our whole life takes a totally different form altogether. Our decisions, our responses, everything will be of a totally different kind the moment this right vision comes. Anyway, so here, Ajnanajam Tama. Tama means darkness which is born out of ignorance. This so-called darkness born out of ignorance is destroyed or removed by what? By the lamp of knowledge, which I enkindle. I who am sitting in the hearts of everybody, I will enkindle this so-called lamp of knowledge in the heart of this kind of a devotee. So see, how ultimately this enlightenment comes, through how? For that, what precedes this great attainment is what? That one-pointed, steadfast clinging to Ishvara and Ishvara alone. That precedes this enlightenment. This enlightenment is preceded by that state of the mind where this bubble is now attached to no other bubbles but attached to that one ocean and ocean alone. What follows this is enlightenment, which is Ishvara's anugraha, which is something which Ishvara bestows on that bubble, on that jiva, by enkindling the lamp of knowledge through which the darkness of the heart is totally destroyed. So beautiful. The perfect mapping of what actually happens in the so-called spiritual aspects. So let us stop here for the time being here. And now, next 7 verses, which we shall take up in the next class. It is going to be very interesting. Now, till now, in these verses from 1 to 11, we have finished 11 verses of the 10th chapter. In these 11 verses, you might have seen, Sri Krishna how did he start? He started by saying that Arjun, I am once again going to present to you the true nature of the Supreme Reality. See? And how to attain it. I am going to once again tell you the true nature of the Supreme Reality and the way to attain it. See in the 11 verses how Sri Krishna is totally so beautifully presenting to us that Supreme Reality and the way to attain it. Now, after having listened to all this, now Arjuna once again, he will repeat these points. He will tell Krishna, yes, Krishna, what you have said is very true, this and that. And again, Arjuna will ask a question. Hey Lord, please tell me how you are present in all these different forms, your vibhuti. Tell me your different manifestations, the divine manifestations. Once again, Krishna will ask this question from verse 12 to the so-called 12 to 18. These 7 verses, Arjuna is once again going to ask some questions. Finally, the essence of that question is that, hey Krishna, once again tell me about your vibhuti, how you are manifested in so many forms, so that I can meditate on you, which will help me in meditation, that one-pointed meditation which will take me to you. So that is going to be a beautiful question, which we shall take up in the next class. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat.